bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Erin. So let's not waste no time. Let's go ahead and hop right into these insane daycare prices in the year 2025.
How much are you all paying for daycare? I've got 2 kids, okay? I am paying $2,675, and that is with a sibling discount. My daughter, who just moved up from the infant room, when she was in the infant room, her tuition was $1,764 a month.
So basically you telling me it's gonna cost 1 month's worth of rent to send your kids to daycare. That is pure insanity. I'm trying to figure out in what world is this even sustainable. It almost makes more sense to just keep the kids at home.
$1,700. How can anybody afford daycare? My son, he's 4, so he's in pre-K right now. His tuition is $1,161 a month. Can he be in kindergarten yet? Can I enroll him? I have 1 more year. Drop in the comments how much you guys are paying for daycare.
All right, so this is one of the things that I'm pissed about today. Price of daycare. The last time I actually put my son in daycare, he was 3. He'll be 7 this year. And so I went today to check in for my daughter that will be 14 months this year. Next month, actually. That'll be 14 months. And for 2 days only. I only needed 2 days, not more. And it was $287 per week. And they're talking about they provide diapers and wipes. But $287 is insane. And then, if you do 5 days full time, $446. Do you know how much $446 it is per week? You're trying to tell me that, let's just say $450 per week, 4 weeks in a month, you're paying about, what's that, $1,800 for daycare? $1,800 for daycare is insane. This baby is about to be sitting under my desk and we'll be working together until she goes to school. Because that's insane. For 2 days, it's $287. But if you're paying $450 for daycare, let me know if you're hiring, because I need that job so I can be able to provide. I can be able to afford daycare. And basically, yeah.
Have you seen the daycare costs these days? $2,200 a month for 1 child. I was talking to this mom at a birthday party this weekend, and she was telling me that she went and got a job for $65,000. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome, because her husband makes great money, but they wanted extra money. She said the only downside is that I need to have a nanny come Monday through Friday, and it costs me $2,200 a month. And I don't have kids, so I never even thought of that before. And you know me with my numbers, started having a conversation with her. I said, well, what's your take-home pay, if you don't mind me asking? And she said about $4,000. She goes, so that's the tough part here, is that after the daycare cost, I'm only really pocketing $1,800 a month, and then it's $300 in gas because the commute's very far. So I'm really going to work for 40 hours a week and only pocketing $1,500. So I'm wondering if I even made a mistake here, and they're trying to figure this all out. And we look at people who have a job at $65,000 or $80,000, or a couple who's making $120,000, and you're like, how can you not afford this? Like, this doesn't make sense. But when you really break it down, her take home of that $65K is only $18,000 a year. So some people, that $1,500 a month is make or break. But I'm curious if she's going to end up moving forward with that job, because once they saw the numbers, but I was blown away because I've never looked into daycare costs before. Are you all finding that daycare per child is what, $1,000, $2,000 a month? What's your experience with that?
I'm sorry, but how can people afford daycare? Like, if you have 2 working parents, how is it possible to afford daycare full time? We are blessed to have 2 days that my mother-in-law watches the boys, which is wonderful. But we have friends that send their kids to daycare all week, and individually each kid is $70 a day. That means if you have 2 kids, it's $140. So overall, that equals out to at least $35,000 for the year. It literally leaves you with like nothing left.
That is literally somebody's yearly salary. At that point, it almost makes you wonder, is it even worth going to work if you're only going to work to pay for daycare? If that's the case, I can just stay at home with my kids. Because if I'm just working to pay for them to go to daycare, it's like a catch-22. What am I really getting from this?
Sorry, but the US system is not made for two parents to be working. It literally is not. And some days I'm like, why do I even work? I don't know. And I feel like nowadays it is becoming more common and more accepting that mothers stay home. I'm not knocking on daycares either, because bless their hearts, I could never stay home with 5 kids that are not my own. But even them, like, they don't make that much money. People in daycare don't even make that much money. And you look at other countries, I don't know. We need to start paying people more. We just need to start paying people more. They can afford daycare. Or we just need to make it more accepted that mothers stay home, that they can be stay-at-home moms.
Why is daycare so fucking expensive? Nah, like, on some real shit, like, this is a genuine question. Why the fuck is daycare so expensive? So you're telling me I have to pay $2,000 a month for a toddler, right? $2,500 a month for a baby? Yo, why is daycare so expensive? So you're telling me that if you take care of 25 kids, right, at like what, 2 bins a month, right, that's over $100K. I think I might say fucking open like a fucking daycare. You feel me? Cause this is where the money at. Cause yo, like, make it make sense. And they paying their employees like $10 an hour, and most likely they don't even have papers. So the profit of that is ridiculous. Cause I'm not paying that much money for $2,500, $2,000, even $1,000 seems too much if you ask me. Like, but shit.
The fact that daycare costs $600 to $800 a month for one child should answer your question as to why there are stay-at-home mothers.
So I'm just now finding out that daycare is like $2,000 a month, y'all. That is so crazy to me. I did not know that it was that expensive. I don't know how y'all do it. No, sir. No, man. That's expensive. Like, nah, I did not know that.
For my mommies out there. Okay, so I called around today for my 3-year-old because I was genuinely curious. So daycare for her was around $295 to $315. Okay, so hypothetically, let's say I don't have any work experience. I want to go work. I think isn't minimum wage. My last job I was making around 17. Okay, so 17 times 40, that's 680. And I'm not taking taxes out yet. 2 weeks, 17 times 80 is 1,360. So daycare cost $315 times that times the 2 weeks. That's $630 times 2 is 1,260. So if you subtract that, I would have $100 every 2 weeks. How are y'all affording daycare? How are y'all affording daycare? You can't survive off of $100. So I need another trick. Like, are we having like 2 jobs? Because maybe that will make sense. But like, then you wouldn't have any time. Like, I'm not grasping these numbers. So can y'all let me know down below how y'all doing daycare, because it's expensive. And I'm genuinely curious.
My husband and I spend $70,000 a year on childcare.
Now, if I thought the other one was bad, this one is truly insane. This is more than some people make in a year. Let's listen to what she got to say, because girl.
And people want to know, how do we afford it? Specifically, what do we do for work? How are we able to pay that much money for childcare? And here's the thing, I will tell you what we do, because a lot of people are wondering, are you working in medicine? Are you in tech? Are you lawyers? What are you doing to earn enough money to pay for that? But we live in Massachusetts, which is a very high cost of living area, which means our salaries are relative to that cost of living. We also have the highest childcare costs in the country. So our childcare costs are incredibly expensive. It is very difficult to afford childcare here in Massachusetts. My husband is a blue-collar worker. He is a lineman, which means he fixes electricity on utility poles. It is a very dangerous job. He gets paid like a base salary, and then everything is hourly overtime after that. Like most of his pay comes from overtime. So he's trading his time for money. And that is how we budget for childcare. We'll say, how much overtime do you have to work to be able to pay for this amount of the childcare budget? And on average, he's working like between 400 and 600 hours of overtime a year, I think. The numbers change every single year based on the weather and the storms, etc. But he works a ton of overtime. I work from home in a remote position for a startup in e-commerce. I am in operations management. I am lucky because I've worked for the same team for about 10 years. And so I make a little over $100,000 a year. Combined, we are able to pay for childcare. He also has really great benefits. I also have a 401k, like all the things that are important to us. We also do things like have a dependent FSA, which we use to pay for camp, because camp you have to pay for upfront. And so we have that dependent FSA. I think it's like $5,000 a year is the max, unfortunately, for a family, pre-tax money that we will save. And then every year when we pay for camp in January or February, a bulk of it is paid by that FSA. We do also use our tax returns if we get them, depending on what they are, to pay for other things, whether it be swim lessons or taekwondo or more camp, or any other deposits, like do we have to put a deposit down for after school care or whatever it might be. And so we're constantly talking budgeting. Like it is difficult to pay for childcare. Like it is not easy for us to pay for childcare. It makes sense for us to pay for childcare for the life we want to create now and in the future. It makes sense for us to both work, but it is difficult to manage this budget. It is incredibly expensive to pay $70,000 a year for childcare. We also understand that we are incredibly privileged as well. We are white privileged people living in the suburbs that make very good salaries. And so if we're struggling with childcare, that means everybody is struggling with childcare, right? Like there's a childcare crisis. This is an issue that is impacting everyone, no matter what your socioeconomic background is. And so as a person of privilege, I talk about this topic because it's important to bring awareness to it, because this is a crisis. It is not only impacting families, but it's impacting the workers. It is an industry that every other industry relies on, and yet it is crumbling to pieces. And so we need to pay attention to childcare and funding childcare, affordable, safe childcare for families, because it is unaffordable in every single state in our country.
Serious note, how are y'all affording daycare? Like, how are y'all working full time and doing all this for real? Like, my daycare, I just called down the street, told me $600 a week. $600 a week? You don't mean monthly, you mean weekly? The fuck? What do y'all think I do for a living? Like, what are y'all doing? How is y'all affording that shit? Please let me know.
Okay, question for the class. How much do you guys pay for daycare where you live?
I had 2 toddlers go 2 days out the week, and that was $284 every week, which was a little over $1,100 a month. So if you just go by one child, it was $142 for each kid for 2 days. But I thought that was expensive, but apparently that's normal. That's normal. I'm like, that's a lot. So they got pulled.
I just have a question. How much is childcare where you live? Because I've never really had to look at daycare prices, because my kids both went to an in-home childcare provider, which is really hard to find. But if you find a good one, they can be so much more affordable than daycare. And recently, me and my husband decided that we kind of want her to go to a daycare that has a curriculum part-time. So I called around and got a couple of prices, and I was still taken off. Like, I know daycare is expensive, but I was honestly taken off guard at how expensive it really was. About 2 years ago, the woman that runs the in-home daycare had a knee surgery, and my daughter had to do something called flex care, which is basically you pay per day at this local daycare facility near our house. So I started with them, and they told me it was, I think, $340 for full-time per week, and it was $260 part-time. So I said, okay, we can probably do that. So we decided to go ahead and enroll her for part-time. But she doesn't start there till like June 24th. So I decided to call around and see if I could maybe get a cheaper price. And the daycare that's even closer to our house charges $2,000 a month for full-time. I don't even think that I actually caught the person's name that I was speaking to, because once he said it was $2,000 a month, I said, okay, we'll have a good day. And that was the end of the conversation. Let's just say you have 2 children in full-time daycare. That's $4,000 a month. You may get a sibling discount, but often it's like 10%, maybe even less than that. So it's still roughly $3,900 a month for 2 kids. That is insane. With that being said, if you're currently pregnant, make sure you start saving for daycare now.
Y'all, daycare is so expensive, it's not even funny. Like a tax return check is not even gonna cover a month payment at daycare. You know, me and my husband are looking for a possible part-time daycare just to send my son to every now and then, just to get him out and around kids, because we ain't having a baby no time soon. We walked in there, beautiful school.
Beautiful. School had like a little gym. That's when I knew it was expensive. A daycare has a gym. 3 playgrounds. It was just gorgeous. Then she gives price at the end. $1,300.
Once again, so basically somebody's monthly rent on daycare. Get somebody else to participate in this foolishness.
$1,000 for part-time. You know, I don't be trying to look too crazy in front of people when they tell me the price, because she was saying like it was nothing. Like, yeah, $1,300. Bitch, what? That's cool. You know, we're gonna look at another one. Woman said, yeah, so it's like $350 a week. Part-time? 2 days? What are y'all doing to him? He should come out smarter than Einstein. No. Part-time, he's staying both days. He's staying the night. Spend the night bag. And then you got a nerve to tell me, so yeah, you do got to bring, you know, your own pull-ups and some wipes. What am I paying for? And then you can't get daycare assistants, because daycare assistants, they want you making $2 a month to be able to send your kid daycare. And then this other school I called, they told me I could apply for a grant. What? I thought grants were for college. I'm not applying for no grant for no 2-year-old. You're insane. So now my kid just gonna have to be here with me and call it a day, because I am not. Inflation got daycare too. No.
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
The cost of childcare is crazy and unsustainable. I understand why nannies are paid what they are, and while I understand daycare, you know, I want my kids to be in the safest environment possible. I'm just saying, honestly, it's crazy. And I mean that from a ratio of income to childcare. I just got an email that my 4-year-old was accepted to a daycare that we applied in 2024. I don't mean 2024. We applied in 2020 for the daycare. So 4 years later, they finally have a spot, because Charlotte, North Carolina is insane for daycares right now. They said, no problem. We just need a down payment and we need a month of the daycare, $2,400. I have 3 kids under 4. $2,400, and then they'd give a discount to my second for $2,200. If you add in my third, it's going to come to about $6,800 a month for daycare. That's only from 9 to 2 a day. I'd have to be providing my own snacks and everything for the babies. $81,600. At that point, it's better for me not to work. What? I feel so defeated in this economy. $82,000. If I were to make a salary and then get the taxes, insurance, and everything off of it, it would be equivalent to about a $130,000 job. What are people doing? How are they surviving? I'm about ready to sell my feet pictures.
So how are we affording daycare? Like, I just don't get it, because we recently had to start looking for another daycare, because our daycare was like, we're going to change our hours. We're now going to close at 4:30. And we're like, what? We don't get out until 5. So we have to look for another daycare. How are we affording it? Are we selling livers? Are we selling kidneys? What's the plan? Because this is ridiculous, you guys. So we have 2 toddlers, and we also have a 5-year-old. He's my stepson, so we don't have to take him to daycare 5 days a week, like the entire month full time. You know, we have him every other week. So check this out. The first daycare was like, okay, we can charge you for your 2-year-old $300 a week. That's $1,200 a month for one kid. And with my 3-year-old and the 5-year-old, which I said he wouldn't go full time, it comes out to $3,400 a month, you guys. And they still want to charge me for the weeks that my 5-year-old doesn't go, because we're saving his spot. So I'm like, there's no freaking way, right? Also, another daycare. This one was a little bit more affordable, but it was like, we can only take them 3 days out of the week, right? It was going to be $1,730. And this was having to pay as well for the weeks that we don't have the 5-year-old, which is crazy, because it's like, we're just giving you free money. He's not going to daycare. You're not watching him. So why are we having to pay, right? So this was another daycare here. So this was a different daycare that I went, and they were like, okay, we can charge you for your daughter $220 a week, not even a month, right? A week. And then for the other two boys, in a month period, it would be $780. So everything combined is $2,440. That is a mortgage payment, you guys. That is way more than a mortgage payment. That's just including daycare. And keep in mind that my kids don't need to go 5 days a week. We only need 3 days a week, maybe sometimes 4. And we're just like, what's the deal? Like, don't call me Dulce anymore. Call me Candy on the weekends, because there's no way people are just going to work to pay for daycare. Like, how is that even possible? Is it even worth having two parents work when you're having to pay so much in daycare? I just can't wrap my mind around this. Crazy to me. I don't know how people are affording daycare, especially when you have multiple children. Like, we need to work in order to be able to provide for a family. But then it's like, the more you work, the more daycare you need.
Like I said earlier in this video, it's a catch-22, and they know it.
Where it's like, you need to pay more. So I don't know that it's even worth two parents working nowadays. This is ridiculous, you guys. This is scary.
So we just picked up our tax information from what we paid the daycare today. I know what we pay them every week, but let me tell you, when you see that big number, it is absolutely absurd what you have to pay to have somebody watch your kid every single day. I don't understand it. It is absolutely absurd, and they wonder why most families can't afford to go do fun things or to pay for extras. When you are paying tens of thousands of dollars for somebody to watch your kid every single day so you can go to work, which you have to do to have a living, how do you expect people to get ahead? I mean, I don't understand it.
Make it make sense. Make this make sense. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day, and I've been hanging out outside. And I just got a note from daycare saying that I owe a registration fee for summer camp. I also pay $780 a week for both kids to be in daycare. And now, on a Sunday afternoon, after I have mastered motherhood and got both my kids to sleep at the exact same time, I receive a note saying that I owe now for summer camp. Please tell me, $120 a child extra on top of registration, on top of my weekly fee.
It's given, it's a shakedown. Because if nothing is different, I'm still bringing them to the same daycare. They're doing the same thing, same teachers. Why is there an additional fee? I said what I said, and they know that they can get away with it because they know that a lot of people don't have a choice, and that's dead wrong.
Tell me what you mean by summer camp, because I'm sending them to the same facility every single day. And tell me what you're doing for summer camp for a 6-month-old. I'm just curious. Just wondering.
Guys, can we talk about how much daycare costs? Like, it's insane. I literally was just like sitting here thinking about just how much I've spent in daycare just this year, and it's insane. So right now my daughter is full-time and my son's full-time because my daughter's out of school, so I pay like $1,400 a month, and I'm just like, and this is with like a scholarship, a 30% scholarship for being like a single mom. A scholarship. $1,400 a month. That's more than my rent. Like, I don't know how people do it, and it's just horrible. Like, when my daughter's in school, I pay like $1,000, so it's a little bit cheaper, but it's like, that is insane. You're paying more for someone to watch your child than the place you live. This economy is just horrible. Like, the amount of money that is spent in just daycare in general is just so expensive. Like, I get why so many moms that can stay at home, because it's insane.
I feel like a lot of these prices should be illegal. It truly should be. There's no way that sending our kids to daycare should be equal to 1 month's rent. Should be equal to 1 month's worth of rent, groceries, electricity, car payment, phone bill. That don't make no sense. It don't. And I don't care what anybody say that's trying to normalize this. This is not normal and this is not sustainable. So with that being said, if you did make it to the end of today's video, don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss no content from me in the future. So with that being said, I'll see y'all in my next upload. Bye y'all.